Good evening, everyone. We're going to get started in just a minute or so. It's 5 o'clock, I think, isn't it?
Somewhere.
5 o'clock somewhere? That's what our official city treasurer says. All right. Welcome, everyone, to our regularly scheduled City Council IWA meeting for March 6, 2024. We are going to start with a call to order and roll call by our city clerk.
Councilmember Ortiz.
Present.
Councilmember Furman.
Present.
Councilmember Holmes.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Miller.
Present.
And Mayor Ramos Amit.
Present. Thank you, city clerk. Next on our agenda, we have an invocation, and this evening we are joined by Pastor Alex Hebert from Garden Fellowship. Thank you for joining us this evening, Pastor.
Let's pray. Jesus, we thank you so much that we have a privilege to participate, Lord, in this great city. God, I ask that you give the mayor and the council members wisdom as they help to lead this amazing place. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Thank you. And we also have a very special guest this evening, Miss Diana Ceja Zepeda, who will be coming up to the podium. Diana is a 5th grader at Van Buren Elementary, and she enjoys spending time with her family, being outdoors in nature, and working on art projects. She aspires to become a kindergarten teacher when she grows up. And tonight she's going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Would you like to come up to the microphone? Come on up.
Put your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge to allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Great job. We have a little gift for you for coming out on this evening. We want to thank your parents for bringing you out as well. And please be sure and tell all your friends at school that they too can come and be a part of our meeting and get a little gift. So we're going to go on with our meeting, but you guys can leave anytime you want, okay? Don't worry about it. All right, next on our agenda is item number 4, our Youth Advisory Council. Would you like to give a report this evening?
So hello and good evening, Mayor Ramos Amit and fellow City Council members. Since our last report, YAC has been planning many new and exciting things. First, we will be participating in the Mobius Conference as the host of the afternoon session in Sunnylands. The conference focuses on how we can improve our art, political, and cultural awareness here in the Valley. Our designated topic is representation in film, where there will be guest speakers to promote the importance of this topic. We look forward to this valuable and enriching experience for the students of the Coachella Valley. Some of the members also attended the Youth Town Hall event featuring guest speaker Michael Oren. And finally, YAC is thrilled to announce the date for our annual mental health hike. It will be taking place at Bedlands Trail in Indio. We invite the City Council and all members of our community to join us. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Great job, thank you. And thank you all for being here this evening. Item number 5, City Manager reports and information.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a carryover item from the last council meeting, just a brief discussion and seeking some direction from the City Council relative to the naming of a park, a facility, a street after Dr. Martin Luther King. I provided some memo backup as well as the current policy that was adopted by resolution just a handful of years ago. That resolution does set forth a process. Looking back on it, it doesn't appear that some of the tasks within the resolution were complete. For example, it was charged of the Arts Commission to come up with a list of names of historic figures from which you could select and name a park or a facility or street after. No one believes that that has been complete. The name that's being presented this evening, of course, my estimation is that it would be included in such a list if discussed or recommended. The Arts Commission would. The second task is if the city council or a member of the public would like to propose a name, you have the option of approving that name, submitting it to the Planning Commission for review, or you could submit it to the Community Services Commission for review. It's not specific, but it appears that the Community Service Commission would be involved if it were a park. So just presenting that, I know Councilmember Furman is the one that brought this up originally, and we've done just a little bit of research. Staff feeling like perhaps a new facility may be easier. We do have the new library. Historically, it's been called the McCandless Library for however many years. Perhaps it could change, and the community room within the library could be McCandless. That was one idea presented by staff. This room, after the city council chambers is built, the new city hall, one concept for this building is a community room that could be used by members of the community for meetings and so forth, the library as well. But perhaps this building itself could be named. The sports complex, that award is coming soon, which will build the ball fields and other facilities on Jackson, is another idea. So Mayor, I just opened that up, seeking direction on any further research you'd like or direction, or if you'd like the matter referred to one of these commissions. Thank you.
So for the benefit of council members Furman and Ortiz, who weren't here last week or last meeting, I raised the issue that if we have a policy, that we should follow the policy and allow the process, and even this recommendation, to go through the committee process. But you weren't here to talk about it, so we put it on the table. But you know, the other option would be to revise the policy. If you guys, we haven't looked at it in years, if you want to revise the policy. I was fine with the policy, we just never followed through in putting together that list so that when we wanted to name something that we had a list to pick from. So I guess it's open for what the council would like to do. Would we like to try to follow the policy? Would we like to ask the commission to come up with a list and recommend that Dr. King be included in that list? Or do we want to throw the policy away? I don't know. It's all up to us at this point.
Yeah, I would recommend that we try to follow the policy. I think that's the best thing. We don't want to set a precedence of going around policy. The other thing is, and I appreciate the discussion being held when we're not here also, and another question I'd like to raise to the council is, I know we're talking about doing some parking over at the Desert Theater Works. I like to look for another location or some kind of memorial that we could do for Doug York. I think it's important that we also keep that legacy alive as well for the preservation of the history of our city.
I'm so happy you brought that up, Councilmember Furman, because that's something near and dear to my heart. I think all of us who knew Doug York. And so one idea is that we can move that and even create an even larger memorial to Doug York at the History Museum. I spoke to the wife and the daughter, and Lorraine York, all the York family is okay with it. Not an issue, not a problem, and they were very happy since he was instrumental in moving the schoolhouse to the museum grounds, and there's a room named after him to have his memorial there. And I preliminarily spoke with the museum, and you know, they said we just need to sort of agree and a board agenda if that's what we decide to do, and so they'll support that as well.
And where would they put it? Where, I mean, what are you thinking, out in the grass area in the back?
I wasn't thinking of location other than the museum at this point, because I think we all needed to decide if that was, you know, feasible, but that's as far as I got.
Okay.
And another item that's related that was never completed either was the discussion of what in our city do we value as historical, because there's not much left, to be honest with you. And I think around the same time we had charged the committee to come up with that list. So if we're going to send this back to committees, let's have them do some of the work, like number one, you know, the list of names that we should keep in mind when we're thinking of naming facilities. But number two, what in our community is left that is still, not that we're going to make it historical, but is of significance. Like the museum, that's of significance. General Patton's house, is of significance, even though it's privately owned. That list was never compiled either. So it sounds like the direction of the council is let's let this go through the process, and we look forward to seeing the results of the commission, so that we can consider whatever it is that needs to be named. I agree this building should be dedicated to the community, but it's up to us to have that conversation.
If I could say a word, Madam Mayor, and if we could, I'd like to see if we could get a name of things that are named, because that parking lot was next to the Brown Jug, and that little area that we had DG was actually named after one of our postmasters, and we didn't even know. There's no plaque. A lot of the stuff's been taken over the years. So what actually is named out there, and after for who and what reason? Like Al McCandless was one of our first congressmen, and he owned the car dealerships out here. He was a very inspirational in terms of bringing Indio to the forefront in those days, and when we were the hub of the valley, and we will be soon again. But he was one of the persons that was there, and our only congressman that's ever come out of the city of Indio as the biggest and oldest city. So I think recognizing him with his family, and that would be a reason not to change that. But I'm open to anything. But I think if we should probably go back and see, like, this area that we're probably going to make into a parking lot, is it worthy of giving him another space somewhere else? Do we make something for it? We got to come up with things. And if there's something out there we want to decommission, like the Doug York, if we're going to move it, are we going to move it to a place, or are we going to take it down? And what's the process of doing it? Who decides? Is it the community service that then brings it to the city council? Is it something we can recognize? Just makes it easier, so in case, excuse me, somebody comes back later, this is the process we followed, this is what happened, we noticed people, and we decided that it was changed. Nobody came forward to say anything, and this is the will of the body that decided. So,
Do you have the staff support to accomplish that?
Yes, I think we can do that. I think the one question I would ask, the resolution states that the Arts Commission, though it calls it the Arts and Historic Commission.
It used to be the Arts and
Okay.
Historic Commission.
So I don't know if the Arts Commission will find it as a unique challenge to them, but if we charge them with that, is it to just provide the list as stated in the resolution, or do you want recommendations for some of these sites?
No, we don't need recommendations.
Just a list.
But Glenn brought up a different list. He wanted a list of what we've already dedicated.
Sure.
Because we don't even know that.
Yeah, I think we can round that together. That's probably 6 or 7 names.
Okay, so what we've been dedicated, what names we should consider. My recommendation was what's left in the city that has significant historical.
but should we give it back to the arts? The reason we gave it to the Arts Commission
It was 'cause it
was
was the
because the
historical.
historical one. I mean, is that the best place to do it
Yeah.
now?
I don't
when we
know.
start talking
That's what I
about
was
businesses?
thinking about too. Should
They've
it be
got
more
our
the community
community
services
service
commission?
or somebody
Yeah.
else,
Yeah, I'm thinking community service.
so we don't overburden one.
The Community Development Director reminded me that some years ago you actually transferred the historical component of the Arts Commission to the Planning Commission.
Oh, that's right, we did. Glad
So-
somebody's here to remember this.
So
Yeah,
since
but
this
they
resolution
have-
was adopted,
But they have work to do, Jonathan.
work to do?
They have work.
The Community Services Commission has been asking for more
Role.
tangible things to
Can we give it to them?
I think that'd be
I
good.
think, as the mayor indicated, a quick revision of this resolution, and as we concurrently look at the opportunities, would be in order. So whichever commission you think is most appropriate, the resolution could be revised accordingly. Before I forget, I just wanted to, because that parking lot over by the York site has been bid and awarded and is going to move forward soon. There is approximately 20 feet of grass, maybe even more, that will still be left. In other words, that parking lot won't go all the way up to the sidewalk. We just couldn't fit like any more there. So there's still something that will be there, whether the Doug York monument still remains on that fairly large piece of grass, or for another opportunity, there will be something left there still that could be placed.
I guess we'll see it when we see it.
That might be better.
It's
Then
hard
you
to
can
visualize.
see what really does remain.
The other thought, I'm sorry to interrupt, the other thought is with everything going on at the museum that really honors Doug York, that this is one more thing that can go, and then the whole Doug York community, can be there at the museum. It's a thought. Mayor, may I ask one more question? And City Manager, I don't mean to blindside you guys with this, But when we started tearing everything down and that big tree that we used to use as a Christmas tree for years and years, that giant bush, there was a plaque, Herb Wilkins. He was pretty near and dear to most of us here in the city because he was a super volunteer. I mean, he was everywhere. He did everything all the time, everywhere. Did we get to save that plaque?
Yes.
And is that going somewhere?
Yeah, we preserved the plaques and even moved the art that was on site here,
Okay.
so we have those. But to
Thank
find
you.
an appropriate place for that now would be a good discussion.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, that'll go on our list of things that we have that we need to find a place for.
Time capsule.
Yes.
Yeah, we don't know where we're gonna put a time capsule either.
We can do that. We can do that. Is there one here, I hear?
Behind the city,
Sabdi
behind
already-
the,
Sabdi already took it.
Oh, we haven't
behind
lifted.
the, when you come in,
the
the,
plaque.
It's not there anymore.
what do you mean it's not there?
She told me it wasn't there anymore.
Oh, we can find.
Yeah, it's behind the plaque.
Behind.
We can do something similar. Well, okay, so knowing that there isn't a formal action here, which commission do you think would be best for us to refer this to?
Community service.
Okay, it seems like there's a consensus there. We can ask that of them and get that on their agenda. In the meantime, concurrent to that effort, make a quick revision of this resolution to bring back to you. But I don't think we'll wait, knowing that there's a consensus on that. Then you'll have a list of names. As things come up, there are opportunities, then you can draw on those. Sound good? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, City Manager. Does that conclude your report?
It does, thank you.
All right, moving on to item number 6, reports on City Council, external, internal boards, commissions, and committee meetings, and report on meetings attended per Government Code Section 5323 2.3. Councilmember Holmes, would you like to start this evening?
Sure, mine will be short and sweet, as all of my commissions were dark in the last 2 weeks. There were just so many things going on in the community. Today, we just dedicated the Miles Avenue Dog Park there at the park, which is really cool. It's absolutely beautiful. It's large. It's a great area for the dogs. I thought that was kind of a neat thing that we've been working on for many, many years. Also today, one of the restaurants in downtown opened, Tap House. That's going to be just really awesome. You'll see the doors are open. It's a great indoor, inside, outside place, TVs, wonderful food, amazing drinks. So I encourage everyone to go check that out, along with Victoria's Cafe. There's a lot going on. This Saturday is second Saturday as well. So, you know what? Downtown's the place to be. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Councilmember Holmes. Councilmember Furman?
Yes, thank you. I have a brief report. I did have a CVAG executive committee meeting, and we did have two noticeable items on there that were important to the city. One was approving the reimbursement agreement with the city for the Avenue 50 widening project, and that would extend the time trigger to commence the construction to December 31st, 2025, and approving the reimbursement agreement with the city of Indio and the County of Riverside for the Monroe Street Interstate 10 interchange project, extending the time trigger to commence construction to December 31st, 2025. And I did attend a couple of events. We got to go to the Day Festival. It was fun. It was really good this year. A lot of people. And the parade was a lot of fun. A lot of people at the parade, so it looks like everybody's getting back into the motion. So that was really fun. Since I missed the last meeting, I got to share that. And also continue to go to Food Truck Fridays. Food Truck Fridays have been really fun. You're guaranteed to put on some good calories at the Food Truck Fridays, but it's fun. They got entertainment. The families are coming out. We've got some artwork out there as well, as we know. I also attended the ribbon cutting for the dog park, which was really fun. And also we had a Black History event over here in the area where we do the second Saturdays. That was fun to help put that together. I want to thank the staff and everyone who was part of that. I worked with a couple of folks in the community to get that done. I really come to find out that I'm not a promoter, but it turned out to be a really great event, and looking forward to doing it annually. So that will conclude my report, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember Furman. Councilmember Ortiz?
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. A few weeks ago, I attended the neighborhood cleanup at Arabian Gardens Mobile Home Park, so I wanted to thank our city staff and Vertex staff who helped us out with that cleanup. I also had a meeting at with the Desert Healthcare District where we discussed some of the results for the educational efforts around fentanyl, where they worked with ABC Recovery, Martha's, the Rescue Mission, and other local partners in an effort to provide presentations on education around fentanyl in order to reduce the amount of fentanyl addiction and overdoses in our community. It looks like we may have had a good impact on those numbers, but we're still waiting on some county numbers from last year to finish up so we can have some solid data that we'll share with everyone here pretty soon. I also attended the ribbon cutting for the dog park, so wanted to thank staff as well for that effort. It looks really nice, and we hope everybody gets to enjoy that. Yesterday was also Election Day. I wanted to congratulate all the candidates for finishing another campaign season. I hope you all got your votes in, and a special congratulations to all of our first-time voters. We saw a couple of those out there, so congratulations, and that'll be it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Ortiz. Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Only one of my committees was Active Sunline Transit Agency. A lot of our stuff is created because of our lack of buses, and we've got some new buses in, so our routes are getting back on time and on schedule. And then we also had a brand new radio system put in that the one was antiquated. This gives us an opportunity to talk to buses and be able to have them coordinate if there's more issues, especially in the wide open area that we have going all the way from Desert Hot Springs to Mecca. There's a lot of issues with buses that are either breaking down or need some support because there's not enough riders or too many riders. So the radio system's well needed, and it was going to be installed hopefully in the next couple of months. And then also we changed our legal counsel, had a new specialized legal counsel come in. We accepted another bid from another company, and they'll be starting very shortly. Besides that, some of the events that I attended, besides the one I mentioned, is we also had a Indio Lindo cleanup, Nairobi area. We cleaned up. Thank you to BirdTech and our staff, our police chief, and everyone else for coming out and continuing to support our neighborhood. Got a lot of cleanup done out there. We've got a lot of more cleanups in the valley, so in the city, so that we need to get done. So if you see something out there, you know an area we need to go, please let us know so that we can bring our staff and our volunteers out to help clean up. So my hat's off to everybody there. Went to the College of the Desert. They had the state of the college over at Toyota the Desert, kind of a unique situation, highlighted the new Roadrunner Mechanics vocational school. Very well attended, lots of interest in what's going on. Did not get the idea that they're going to build our parking structure for us yet, but I did ask quite a few times. So we'll look forward to hearing what they have to say. And then a couple of our great organizations, Fine Food Bank, had their Hunger Heroes Awards. Mayor Linda Evans from the city of La Quinta was honored, along with Visit Greater Palm Springs, for all the work they do helping us with our hunger fight. And then one of the clubs that I'm a member of, the Women's Club of Indio, near and dear to my heart. They had their Mardi Gras Gala, raising funds to do scholarships and all kinds of stuff for this valley. If you haven't been privy to this organization, you need to see what it's about, because it's a great organization, not only for the city of Indio, but the whole Coachella Valley. And that's it, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Thank you, colleagues. I don't have any reports on any committees tonight, but I do want to make like a very special, congratulations. We have a very special City of Indio resident who has made it to the finals, or to the next round of the American Idol, Miss Abby Carter, and she's right now getting ready to go off to Hollywood or LA, wherever it is that they're going to have these rounds. So we don't want to interrupt her practice period, but I did prepare a proclamation for her, and I was hoping that each of my colleagues would say a few words and let her know how much this community is behind her as she goes off to stardom and represents the city of Indio, our youth, our culture, and everything that we are. So I don't know if anybody else wants to say anything before she's leaving in a couple of weeks, I think. Yeah.
Just an amazing story.
Yeah,
Congratulations for following your dreams and putting yourself out there. What an amazing story she has, and what a beautiful voice. So go represent Indio.
Yeah, and brave, and like you said, for putting herself out there, very brave, and just a really wonderful young lady to go out there and sing, and just really sing from the heart. That's wonderful.
Good role model for our other youth out here too, so that'll be great.
Yeah, we're super proud of her and all the other talent that's out there, and it's just a testament to our city and our valley. A lot of good people here. She's been performing around the valley, and so she's really named a name for herself. So This also gives other youth, hope and a blueprint how to also get there. We have Avenue of Music downtown, and they have a lot of performers. They have comedy there, and so some really good stuff coming out of Indio. So continue to make us proud.
Yep.
Go get him, Abby.
Yep.
Mayor?
Thank you. Yes.
May I make one additional announcement, please? Thank you, Council Member, for reminding me. The Women's Club of Indio and the whole process around this luncheon is to raise funds for scholarships. So I want to put the word out. If anybody know high school, particularly high school girls, but it doesn't have to be, that is in need of a scholarship, contact the Women's Club. Actually, feel free to contact myself or Glenn or the mayor, any of us that are involved with the Women's Club, because we're looking for students to give scholarships to. And generally, they're around $1,500 or $2,000 scholarships. Last year, I think we gave them to a very large number. I think there were 20 of them or more. So please get in touch with one of us, and I'll put you in contact with the Women's Club of Indio, and we'll get that form filled out for you.
Youth Advisory Club.
Thank you. Youth Advisory Club, do you want to stay with us?
It's up to you.
You don't mind?
Good.
Because we only have, that's what, we always say this, we only have one or two things to talk about.
Wayman always drags these
He
things on.
does. We have to bring duct tape out and just tape up his lips.
Yeah, he wants to start talking again when he's holding it in.
Okay, moving on to the next item. Item 8.1 is an administrative item, presentation and requests for support. Oh, I skipped that one. Does anyone want to pull?
Pass.
Alrighty.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Furman, second by Mayor Pro Tem Miller. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, please indicate your vote electronically. Motion passes unanimously. Now we can move on to item 8.1, the presentation and request for support for enhanced educational programming at the Palm Springs Air Museum. Mr. Montgomery.
Thank you, Mayor. Probably doesn't need introduction, but Fred Bell is the managing director of the Palm Springs Air Museum. He and I met some time ago, and he's been meeting with some of the other cities. He'd like to share some information via PowerPoint and specifically focusing on some enhanced and educational programming that they're planning there. So, Mayor, if that's fine, we can turn some time over to Fred.
Thank you so much. It's good to be here. First of all, if I can hand this metal box and maybe hand it up to the council. It's totally inert, but it is part of my presentation. My wrists will never leave my hands, I promise. Am I going to work from that there? So, there we go. So the museum, originally was founded in 1996. And we started with 14 aircraft, 40,000 feet. Bob Pond was a naval aviator during World War II, and he had a passion for flying, and he was an entrepreneur. If you don't know, he created Advanced Machine, which Advanced Machine was floor scrubbers. So if you own any building and you look at a floor scrubber, a good chance is that you have an advanced floor scrubber in your inventory. And he made a lot of money doing that, and he credited aviation. God, that thing came back quick. There's no money in it. What happened? I left that out. But he credited aviation with being able to move his company forward. He was also incredibly patriotic. And I want to jump to one thing real quick. You were talking about naming, which is not on topic with this, but don't forget Gold Star families. I wear Hunter Lopez's bracelet. I wear it every day. And those Gold Star families, they weave us all together because they're spread out through the entire valley. And we should never forget them. Some of them go all the way back to World War II. So off topic, but just a thought. We, over the years, have continued to expand to the point where the museum right now is about 100,000 feet under roof, 17 acres. We have 75 aircraft. The snoot of the aircraft that you're looking there is the stealth fighter. Those proby things are the fly-by-wire probes that actually make the airplane fly. So from the Wright brothers to that airplane there are 4 flight control computers in that airplane, and if without those, and they all have to agree, the airplane would not fly. 40 years ago, that was the most advanced aircraft in our arsenal. It was top secret. It's now a museum piece. The most important thing about that airplane is that it is a feat of engineering. Originally they said it would never fly. It was called the Hopeless Diamond, and it worked well in deflecting radar waves, but they said it would never fly. It was engineers and people who built that skin and programmed the technology that did that, and that is one of the things that the United States has is in our industrial base is this type of development of advanced technology. It goes on. We continue to work with Lockheed. I'll talk a little bit about that. But one of the challenges that we have is a void in science and technology training, starting in the elementary schools and going all the way up. And the museum has, in our education materials, been trying to fill that void. Initially, it was with just humanities, teaching history. But we teach math, science, technology, geometry. This box was made by our students in a workshop. And why is this box important? Because this box started out as a flat piece of aluminum that they had to actually create. And in that, there's no screws, those are rivets. Rivets are hard to do. Metalworking is hard to do. Nobody teaches that anymore. If you go to a school, find me a school that's teaching metalworking, yet it's vitally important because every airplane that you get on, every car that you drive, every machine that you operate has rivets. And nobody knows how to do that anymore. But we need all of that type of education. And right now we run about 5,000 kids through the facility. It's stabilized. We saw a little bit of a decline in COVID, and that has come back up. We bus, we do busing. We offer the educational guides free of charge. And we have a major social media push. You may not realize this, but the Air Museum does 23 million touches in our social media every year. That breaks down to about 2.2 million on YouTube, which is where most of our educational, vocational school programs are. They can download those online, and then we do a whole bunch of other, both humanities efforts on a lot of the other platforms. We also have in the region, we provide busing free of charge, we provide attendance free of charge, and we feed the kids lunch free of charge. We do not charge any school child who comes into our facility a nickel. It's all paid for by our programs. If you've ever been to our gala and our fundraising efforts. The breakdown that you see before you is the breakdown in the districts. It is predominantly East Valley heavy because they take advantage of it the most, because those kids, they need that. And so we work very hard. The last 2 years, we have a thing called the Young Science Professional Scholarship Fund, which we give out each year. All 4 of those have come out of the East Valley. That's a $160,000 investment in those students, because that's a 4-year, $10,000 scholarship for each kid. I get the letters that come back from the kids at UCLA that are working on the rocket shell program, or the kid at Embry-Riddle, and it means so much to those kids, but that's just a drop in the bucket of what we need. And so you can just get an idea with this breakdown where the kids are coming from. They're coming from your service area. And remember, we are a regional institution. Just because we say Palm Springs does not mean we don't service the entire region, which goes all the way into Western Riverside, and it goes all the way down to the border with Imperial County, and then over the hill into San Diego County. The total universe of K through 12 children, and this is a CVAP number, is 97,502. I think that's important. I've seen some folks say that, well, they do 40,000 school kids a year or 30,000 school kids a year. I don't know how they do that, but the reality is the number of available school-age children, by the way, that's not the number of kids that are in school. That's just the number of kids that should be in school. So the police chief doesn't have to chase them around when they're not, is at 97,000. We service about 5.2% of those kids, both in our humanities programs and, as I said, in our other teaching areas. That just gives you an idea. And by the way, they have this, I think, printed, so I'm not going to spend a whole bunch of time on this, but you can kind of see where they break down. This is a ranking in schools. It's neither good nor bad. It is just where the schools rank in U.S. News and World Report. You can see where the East Valley schools rank. They are challenged. And again, that's one of the reasons why our emphasis is so heavy on the East Valley. As I said, the museum provides admission to the facility, transportation, lunch, study guides, and video documentaries. On top of that, any kid, child 12 or under that comes with their family to the facility does not pay admission. So we believe that those young children are our target audience. Why are we charging our target audience if we're trying to teach or get them inspired? And we're trying to get them inspired about, higher learning and math and science. So we do not charge any child beyond what we do in just our education program. Any child that comes with our family, 12 and under, does not pay admission to the facility. I believe we're one of the only facilities in the region that offers that, that museum that offers that. We offer the STEM courses, as I said. STEM is a little bit overused. Everything is now STEM, but reality is it's humanities, science, geometry. We do offer a thing called flight training, and that is for 50 kids a year. They actually spend time in a Cessna 182. They spend 2 hours of time in a simulator, and then they take a thing called the Pelican test. The Pelican test tells us where they are because flying is pretty much geometry a little bit. You have to know, right, 360 degrees where you're going to go, what you're going to do, and there are mathematics involved in navigation and a lot of the things with flying. About 50% of the kids fail the Pelican test. And so we can go back and do remediation and train them and then put them back through the system. But about 50% of the kids fail it straight away. And then I mentioned we do those scholarships. I wish we could do more, but we try to offer enough of a scholarship that we can keep the kids' attention in college and keep them focused and make sure they stay in school. And so that's why we're pretty aggressive on that. I talked a little bit about STEM. We can go through that. The city manager told me that I'm a little tight on time, so I'm not going to dance. You can look at STEM yourself. That box that I gave you, it's a test. Can they read the plans? Can they determine the dimensions on where to cut? Can they cut the metal? Do they determine the bends or the folds? It all lines up. Drill the rivet points and install the rivets. That is math and science in its purest form. You have to be able to use mathematics and a little bit of geometry to figure out how to make this. It looks simple, it's not. And actually, metalworking in the United States is a dying art, which is scary because we need it. One of the things we're doing right now is we are expanding. We have never, ever gone out to the cities and asked for help. We don't do that. I will darken your door one time, and this will be it. It won't happen again. And the reason for that is we're spending $3.5 million on the expansion, which includes a 200-seat classroom, which is a multi-use classroom. We have raised $3 million. What we're trying to do is raise additional money for our programs so that we can reallocate some of our budget to finish the building off. We do not build for debt as a museum. That's a really bad policy to get into, and so we do not build for debt. We do believe that we're going to pull the building permit in April. That's with the city of Palm Springs, and that will be in the ground in April. So you can kind of see that piece there. You get a layout there. I don't know if that has a, does that have a laser in it? Go back. Do that. Well, forget it. On my right, you can see that gray area is the classroom. We're reworking the center area, which is in the center, which will allow us more room. We do about 150,000 people in attendance a year. We're one of the more attended museums. That, by the way, is a one-time visitation number. It's not somebody doing a 4-day program and we count them each day. Those are unique visitations. There are a lot of different ways museums count visitation, and I think you got to count the one-time heads. That's a one-time, about 150,000. We are the most attended air museum in Southern California, with the exception of, and I want to be clear because they're not air museums, the Midway in San Diego, which does 4.3 million people a year, and the California Science Center, which is a little bit different animal. Other than that, we do typically about double what the museums do in our space. And then you can see on the left, that'll be an exit point, and we're upgrading the restrooms because in 1996, those restrooms didn't contemplate as many little kiddos as we have running through, and kiddos are hard on restrooms, so we need more of them. That's an interior view of that. This is the Learning Center at Berger, and both Berger and the Allen Foundation have supported this effort, and they are our primary donor for the project, and they have been incredibly supportive. The museum the classroom will be named after Ronald M. Allen, the Ronald M. Allen Learning Center, or the Allen Learning Center. It will be a multi-purpose room. It will not be a theater, because we found that when you do theater like this, it really limits your ability to use the space. You change the seating arrangements as they need to be able to do that. So we're purpose room, and as I said, multi-purpose room. It will double our student capacity because we will be able to handle, right now we can handle, we have one 50-person classroom and another 50-person multi-purpose teaching classroom, and that has 3D printers in it and things of that nature. And then our restoration area where we teach the kids this kind of work. There's the cost. We've actually now raised the $3 million. Berger had offered a credit line, and we're not going to take advantage of that because I said we do not want to build a debt. The construction drawings are complete. Chiaffi Architects is the architect that is doing it. Jim Chiaffi, who was on the DWA, he was on the DWA for a long time. He's an architect, is the architect of record now, and he will carry it through the city of Palm Springs. We are ready to go, and that kind of concludes my little show and tell slideshow. The city of La Quinta has contributed $150,000 to the effort, and how they did it was they did it in two budget cycles. They broke it up. Rancho Mirage has contributed these are cash, has contributed $150,000 in cash towards the effort. And we're in the conversation with Palm Springs because Palm Springs is our landlord. Most likely what will happen in Palm Springs is there will be economic consideration, but in kind on our lease that we've done that before with them as we improve the facility. So, and we're talking to a number of other cities in the valley, and we didn't get to you before the gala. We tried, but we couldn't get on and we know your budget cycle and stuff like that. So I think what we would ask is that you consider helping us. As I said, this is a one-time request, And I do not intend to be back, and we can make it very clear in whatever the action item is from council that if you do anything, it's one time. We don't like going out like this. Typically, we do the community raises through our gala, but we're pushing hard on this. And our biggest challenge, to be perfectly honest, has been costs. As you well know, construction costs have been just ridiculous. And but we need to get in the ground now, because if we're delayed, the costs just go up. And so that is just, we just something we can't wait on. So that's why we're pushing so hard to get in the ground now. Your funding would go towards our education programs, and as I said, allow us to reprogram some of our internal money to be able to go towards construction, so that we do not have a conflict with any prevailing wage or anything like that. I want to be very clear with you on that, where the funding is headed. Our total programs run every year somewhere around $850,000, and we operate on about a $5.6 million budget a year.
What's the gap you're trying to fill right now?
About $500,000, roughly.
Around half.
I'd like to get a wee bit more, just because I know we're going to find something in there. But if we can get $500,000, if we can fill a $500,000 gap, that'll help me sleep better at night.
Council, do you have any questions of the presenter?
Couple of questions, if you
Sure,
don't mind, just for everyone
So
to
that's
sort
why
of
I'm here.
Thank you, Fred. This is awesome. This is absolutely great. I think, and wonderful for our kids. But as the kids go through the program, what do they get? What do they come away with when they complete the program, the curriculum?
Well, it really depends. The in classroom training for the humanities, the educators are using those to teach. We enhance what the schools teach as far as history and stuff like that. The kids that do this kind of work, who go through, like, let's say an aviation class or whatever, a lot of them are looking at being A&Ps, or aircraft and power plant mechanics. Okay. And so they'll go on with that. This gives them a huge leg up. Okay. And then the kids that are in first flight program, they can go on and get what's called a 141 license and become a civilian airline pilot. This is not pushing them towards military. They could if they want to go towards the military, but the idea behind this is that they have the option to be a civilian, like, airline pilot, and those positions are starting at about 150, 200,000 a year, and we have huge shortages of trained pilots. We also have shortages of A&Ps. I will lament, I was just at the International Builder Show, and like COD, we set up trades training years ago for carpenters, electricians, and that's all gone by the wayside. And I was at the builders screaming at them, going, teach electricians, teach plumbers, teach carpenters, because it's not, the segment that I work in is really focused on these other areas, but we need to be teaching technical skills anywhere we can teach, because those jobs are going to be so in demand in about 10 years, as the rest of the people who are old like me get ready to retire and the last of the baby boomers age out. So to answer your question succinctly, historical education, that's one piece. They can leg up to A&P if they're in one of those classes and they want to go on and get an A&P license, which is about a 2,000-hour certificate program that we do not offer. That they have to get out of school to do that. And then the kids, 50 kids that go through the flight training program, they can go as far as they want. What we're in the process of doing is separately building an endowment so that we can endow a lot of those kids to go on with their education.
That's a lot. Thank you. And
That's a
then
mouthful. I'm sorry, but there's a lot there.
I think it's wonderful, and I appreciate the detail. And then the other question I had has to do with the transportation, right? It's a drive. A lot of the kids around here have challenges with transportation, and you mentioned buses and whatnot. How does that program work?
The districts charter the buses, then charter the transportation, and then they send us a bill.
Okay, simple.
And we pay the bill.
Okay.
They, depending on the academies, there's still one aviation academy. There were two, there's one left. Those kids will come in through that academy. The rest of the kids come in through the districts.
Okay.
And then the scholarship piece, the aviation piece we pay directly, just so I want to be clear. So we pay that directly, and then the scholarship piece, the kids don't get that money. It goes to the
school.
university.
Yeah.
I thank you for your presentation. I've been to the museum many a times, and you're doing amazing work for just not us, but our valley. It's one of the most sought after tourist attractions out here for our Coachella Valley, and the work you're doing with our kids is commendable. I know a lot of pilots. Steven Ramos is a good example of a young man who's a jet pilot now and learned out of going to the museum and that. It's just a unique ask for us. I mean, I don't think the city of Indio would have been in this position years ago without the dedication from our staff and our residents. But I think your ask is needed, and so I'm inclined to help, but in what dollar amount, I'm not sure. But I think you're such a unique situation for us, because I know a lot of our students at our schools go to your program, and I really do think it's vital that we get back to some of this hands-on training that you're talking about, because we're going to need it, and we definitely need to have our youth looking at some of these jobs. I know everybody thinks it's sexy to do some of the other stuff, but when you start working with your hands, you're making good money, and you're making a big difference in the quality of life for the residents that you work with, which is all of us. So
Northrop, Lockheed, a lot of these folks are now only hiring A&P graduates, even though the airplanes are being assembled by robots, because the A&P forces them to have the mathematics and the geometry background. So they're not going to be able to just walk in to a lot of these jobs. They are going to need additional education. But the reality of it is, working with your hands in a four-year situation, let's say you go to a four-year university and you're under hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt, and you can do a 2,000-hour program for, let's say, 2 years and have very little debt, but make $100,000 to $150,000 a year. That's really the focus of why we're doing what we're trying to do. There are really great opportunities with four-year education, but the vocational schools, whatever they are, and whether it's and I said it, whether it's a carpenter or a plumber or whatever, there's going to be huge demand for these, and that doesn't happen the last 2 years of a kid in high school. If they don't have the basis, like the mathematics and the sciences, it gets pretty tough. Trust me, I when I went to school, I did not have a good preliminary education in high school. My high school didn't emphasize that, and I wanted to be an engineer, and having to go back and do that on a remedial basis it's a nightmare, and it's only gotten worse.
yep.
Yeah, very compelling. Mm-hmm.
Any questions from council on this side?
Thank you for the presentation.
I also know, as a 32-year Valley resident, that this is a heavy lift, and for you guys, and it's not lost on me. And I do think it's important, and I believe in it, but I understand many times for many different things, and I fully understand that it's challenging. So I am grateful that you just heard my request, if nothing else.
I know you don't have the staff, but have you ever considered applying for the STEM grants?
We have, the educator that we have now is STEM certified, and we could do that. They're extremely difficult to get because of the competition with some of the other educational groups. We do get, but STEM grants are tough. And generally you're up against districts which have much larger staff.
You qualify with the East Valley kids.
Yeah, and we do apply for a lot of those, but there's no guarantee that you get those.
Mm-hmm.
We're really good in converting. When we do apply for grants, we do fairly well, but there's no guarantee.
Right. And And I guess just for context, because my colleagues are fairly new and they haven't really been here when we've considered these types of asks. These types of asks have come from the Boys and Girls Club. They've come from UC Riverside and Cal State San Bernardino, which are outside of the city of Indio. And the city of Indio did step up big time because we knew that our children, that was the only opportunity for our children, because our children don't have the opportunity to leave the valley in most cases. So we have considered other asks of this nature outside of the city of Indio. I don't even know what we've been doing recently as far as monies. What's the largest amount that we've been giving out to anybody inside the city or outside the city?
It's a good question. The smaller grant program, the maximum is $5,000. But in doing a little bit of research, historically the Chamber of Commerce as a nonprofit has received maybe $100,000 to $150,000. It's less now. So that's probably the most specific example to your question. In kind, we provided to the Coachella Valley Historical Museum and IPAC with regard to buildings and maintenance and improvements. But cash, the chamber's the only one that comes to mind at this kind of level.
Yeah. The UC ask, I remember, was $500,000.
$500,000.
And you know, we did it because of the medical program, and we did it over a period of time.
Yeah.
So, what is the
I think that not only do they provide the youth, but they also, the history that comes with our military and the machinery that they flew in that and keeping that memory alive. I'd like to recommend that we do 75,000 over a two cycle periods of 37,500 each one would be my recommendation. I think that's something we can handle and something that we can look at.
I would agree. There's a direct correlation here, and anything that has a direct correlation that are going to help our kids get to the next step. And there's transportation, there's the curriculum. I think it's super important, and I would absolutely support that. $75,000 over 2 budget cycles.
Which pot of money would that be coming from?
general fund,
From the general fund balance reserve,
leftover money?
our savings account, but there's adequate funding for that.
Councilmember Furman, do you have any comments, or you can just?
I'm in deep thought. Rob, you know,
Where's the checkbook? Do we have any money? Oh,
you know, I think that's reasonable. What the motion is, we just didn't have any numbers in front of us, but it says 100 to 150. But I think that's a little steep. But I think the recommendation is doable if the funds are there. You know, I love the History Museum. I'm a little prejudiced, but you know, as long as we could handle that, then I'm okay with it.
okay, so I think, go ahead.
Do we still have any money that is needed at the History Museum that we haven't fulfilled yet for the electricity or any of that?
No, but that's all been appropriated and approved, yeah. I did just come up with a unique idea, not to muddy the water, but I believe there are a couple of cities left, Coachella, Palm Desert. If you want to get overly creative and try to leverage them and say, well, if you can get, you know, something from them, then we match that to some degree. I don't know if that helps Fred or the other discussions. You're visiting Palm Desert soon?
Palm Desert soon, and talking to Desert Hot Springs. The only thing is, it's tough to tie to other munis because you just don't know on their timing and their budgets.
Sure.
And what buckets of money they're going to fund with, and I haven't had that conversation with them. The $75,000 for us would be more than acceptable. If it was over 2 budget cycles, that would be fantastic.
I think we should have this discussion during our budget discussions so we can take into consideration all the other projects that are going to be coming up together and be able to compare those. Because I know if we do this one, there's going to be more that come and ask from our city, and we're going to have some hard conversations there. So I think this should be, you know, just part of the regular budget discussion.
Is your ask time sensitive? I know you said you wanted to break ground November. Was it November?
I'd like to. When's your budget?
Probably early June would be that intense discussion.
Yeah, if we could get this done and move on, it would be helpful for us. I know you have challenges as well.
I know the motion's on the table
Okay.
already. I'll acknowledge that.
Thank you.
Keep your, you've been recognized. We're just waiting for a second, but the conversation's not over.
I'll second.
Okay, but did you have more to say?
You know, I just wanted, because I had the same with our history museum, right? Everybody knows how involved I am with that history museum and the value. And of course, I speak to the people at the history museum and I said, hey, you know what, you guys, this is pretty important. At the end of the day, our history museum is vital to our community and to the greater Coachella Valley, by the way. It's not just the Indio, it's the greater Coachella Valley. And but they provide a certain thing. They provide history. They provide some things for the kids and that kind of thing. This is a curriculum that helps launch our kids into the next phase of their life. And I think it's extremely valuable, and I think the dollars, you know, that we can commit, $75,000 over 2 budget periods, is at least the least we can do for educating our kids and sending them off to their lucrative, hopefully lucrative careers.
Okay, so there is a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Miller, a second by Councilmember Elaine Holmes. So it's still open for discussion. Unless you're done, everyone's done with the discussion, then we'll call for the question.
Yeah, this is a tough one because, I mean, I think we all support this, but it does open the door for other organizations and, you know, folks to make steep asks like that. So I wouldn't be against waiting to our budget time to have this discussion. Support it, but I like to have it where we
support it. We support it.
Yeah.
There's either we do or don't. I mean, budget items, just looking at it is different. He's asking for an ask.
Yeah, but then tomorrow we have the Boys and Girls Club, and the next week we have another
And
organization.
if they have a special ask, it's something we accommodate, then we
but-
have the money, then we can accommodate it. It's
Okay.
just then we have less money to spend in the next budget is all it is. It's the money will be allocated somewhere. This is a special ask, a one-time thing. That's the only reason I'm considering it this time is because they've come to us, they've asked, they've never asked us for anything else before. And we've always come through on the Boys and Girls Club and other ones as we can, and we've been able to do it, and we've continued to support Fine Food Bank and all the other ones every year through our CBDG money, and I just think this is a good
Those numbers have
opportunity.
gone down,
So,
though.
Yep.
Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and call for the question on the first motion, and then we'll see what happens.
Okay.
Unless you guys have more discussion.
That's fine.
No, I'm good.
Okay. All right, so, discussion is concluded. Everyone, please indicate your vote electronically if you support the motion to fund the project, this, $75,000 between 2 budget cycles at this time later. Motion passes 3-2. Thank you, Mr. Bell, for being here.
Thank you, and I appreciate you giving me so much time.
Thank
Have a
you.
good evening. And everything looks fantastic over there, by the
I
way.
know, we're
That's
working.
amazing. It
We're
really
working.
is.
On your way out, please stop at our new restaurant, spend some money.
I will. I don't know that I'm going to go to the tap room and spend some money, but I will
Thank
hit
you.
the coffee shop.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Good night. Okay, thank you, council. Our next item is 9.1. It's a public hearing. Is the yak okay? Okay. Citywide urgency ordinance, this should be short, right, Mr. Snyder? Number 1810. To authorize the extension to July 1st, 2024 of a citywide urgency ordinance number 1793, an interim measure imposing a moratorium on the use, construction, establishment, or operation of a new self-storage facility, mini storage facility, and recreational vehicle storage facility within the city of Indio.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, members of the City Council, Kevin Snyder, Director of Community Development, and yes, it will be short. Being the last item, I know that we're eager to wrap up the evening. As the City Council may remember, earlier in 2023, your Planning Commission made a recommendation to you to consider placing a moratorium on mini storage or self-storage facilities, as they're often called, and recreational vehicle storage facilities after a lengthy discussion they had over several public meetings about the concerns of the number of applications the city was receiving. You agree with the Planning Commission's recommendation. We presented a work plan at that time that we were very hopeful that we would be able to complete. Unfortunately, as time went on, we struggled a little bit to complete that. But just to remind you, moratoriums are allowed by state law. They're a legislative pause, and it's an opportunity for the Planning Commission, the City Council, the community, and interested parties to have a conversation about what potential changes in legislation, if any, that you might want to consider on a topic. In this instance, these storage facilities. So you took action in March and April of 2023. You extended the moratorium of initial 45 days, and you extended it additional period of time, 10 months and 15 days. That 10 months and 15 days is upon us. As I mentioned earlier, unfortunately, with limited staffing resources in our planning division and a very high workload consistently that has not slowed down, the planning division staff has been challenged to meet that initial work plan. We have been able to accomplish a community survey, and we have been able to accomplish a stakeholder meeting that we held with interested parties, particularly applicants, either applicants waiting to potentially pursue projects or applicants that had successfully gone through the process. We've also started but not been able to finish our policy options review and analysis. And so we're before you this evening asking for your consideration to allow for a limited extension of the moratorium till July 1, 2024, basically about 120 days. In that time frame, we anticipate being able to complete the needed work, including coming back to Planning Commission and to the Council with the Planning Commission's recommendation. We've started the policy review and analysis. We anticipate completing that this month and going to the Planning Commission in April and having a couple of study sessions, then going to a public hearing, possibly a study session before the City Council, and then coming back and going through a public hearing process with you, all with the goal of being done July 1, 2024, with whatever decision ultimately the City Council makes. So this evening, again, this is a public hearing item, but staff is recommending your consideration of Urgency Ordinance number 1810 that would extend the previous urgency ordinance, ordinance number 1793, till July 1, 2024. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Schneider. Do we have any questions before I open the public hearing? This is a public hearing item. I will open the public hearing. I have no request to speak forms at this time. If there's any member of the audience that wishes to address the body, there are requests to speak forms. In the back of the room, if you'd fill one out and turn it in, we would be happy to hear from you. Seeing no one step forward, I'll close the public hearing period. And Mr. Snyder?
Can I ask one quick question? Kevin, I know we've got a few of them that we approved because they were in that zone. I think there's one being built behind Big Lots and all that. Am I correct?
You are
How many
correct.
of the ones that we approved are either in the planning stages? I know a lot of them said they were already working. How many of them actually are being constructed now and have gone forward with the process?
So when the council took action in early 2023, there were 7 projects that you exempted from the moratorium. A number of them are finishing up the building permit process. The one you mentioned is under construction, and that is immediately to the west of Showcase Shopping Center along Avenue 42. So we expect over the next, say, rough year to 18 months, you'll see a number of those 7s come out of the ground, so to speak, and be providing their services to the clientele that wish to utilize them.
So we won't even know if we have a glut until they're all made, come forward to see how busy they are in that. So we have plenty of them that are on the work still.
Well, yes, and so when the moratorium came to you, your planning commission was concerned because we have more in our city than all of the cities around us combined, including Bermuda Dunes, and we had a number in the potential pipeline. So the planning commission was concerned that we were taking on a larger amount than other communities, and that's why they came to you.
Perfect. Thank you.
How many square feet are those 7?
They range. I believe
like total square feet are we adding to the?
I'm going to say somewhere in the range of about 400,000 square feet,
Oh,
roughly.
my goodness. Wow. So when this item does come back to us for consideration for finalizing whatever, I think we need a lot of data as far as total square footage available in our community, how many rooftops we have in our community. From personal experience, I know that a lot of the storage facilities are already booked, have waiting lists in the other cities. So there seems to be a demand for storage facilities, not necessarily agreeing that we in our city should have the majority of them, but I would like to know kind of some statistical data on square footage available and rooftop, the ratio, I guess.
And we can certainly provide that, Mayor, and I will anticipate that members of the industry will also be providing you with statistics in our stakeholder meeting. We got a lot of information downloaded on industry demand. As they look at the Indio market, they will tell you that they believe it's very high, the demand is very high, but I'm sure that they will give you their statistics.
Yeah, no, we agree with that the demand is high, but it's the location we're questioning.
Right.
Okay, so thank you very much. This is public hearing. Stay open or closed?
Closed.
Close it? Oh, I closed it? Okay.
Yes.
Yep.
It's closed. So what is the wish of this body?
I'll motion to approve ordinance number 1810, an urgency ordinance of the City Council of the City of Indio extending urgency ordinance number 1793 until July 1st, 2024, imposing a moratorium on the use, construction, establishment, or operation of new self-storage facilities, mini storage facilities, and recreational vehicle storage facilities within the City of Indio.
And I will second that motion.
Okay, mouthful. Motion by Councilmember Ortiz, second by Councilmember Holmes. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, please indicate your vote electronically. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Snyder. This is the time for public comments for items not on the agenda. If there are any members of the audience wishing to address us, please fill out a request to speak form that are in the back of the room. We'd be happy to hear from you. You will be given 3 minutes. You can see on the timer up there. So nobody is stepping forward, so I'll close the public hearing period. And we will adjourn until our next council meeting on March 20th. Thank you all for being here. Yeah, it was almost short. You were like, talking 10 minutes too much.